When you think about you being a smaller organization, how do you see some of the challenges of the UC Foundation as they relate to the issues faced by larger organizations, since you do have maybe a smaller budget and a smaller team, but you have to still compete?
Sure. It's all economy of scale. I talk to my colleagues who are in large banks and large corporations and in smaller shops like mine, and we all have the same problems. It's just the economy of scale and how do we face those. So we're lucky that we have university partners who are able to influence and guide and help provide the insights that we need, as well as a fantastic board of directors and trustees that allow us to have insight from industry as well. But staffing is always a challenge. How do you protect the data in a way that is secure and meeting the expectations of our donors and our constituents? The worst thing I could imagine is having on the Cincinnati Enquirer, right, data breached at the University of Cincinnati Foundation. That would, be terrible for our fundraising efforts. So we work vigilantly to make sure that we are meeting the industry standards while also working on a small budget.
Correct. Yeah. And when you think about, I think about different verticals and so forth, specifically what you guys do around fundraising. Is there any, unique technologies, or how do you guys do data differently within your, line of business or service offering?
It would probably look very similar to much of industry in that we're looking at publicly available data to indicate those folks that have the capacity to make gifts to us. But we also have internal engagement scores. We have net promoter scores. So we do a lot of analysis of the data that we know of how folks are interacting with us. And then we're also dipping our toe into NLP so that we can see when our development officers are having interactions with their constituents, what kind of information are we collecting that can help us target those folks that are most interested in it. So it really is a balance of art and science. And this field within fundraising in particular is exploding because it is so rich with opportunity.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, and it's very important to be able to still connect with people virtually, to be able to still get that the fundraising needs and meet your objectives as well. One of I think the keys when you think about building out your services and understanding your users or your donors, right, are using data. So what are some of the challenges or benefits with your team in developing new data and analytic projects, especially around engaging, utilizing new technologies, whether it's cloud services, automation, advanced analytics, or those other flavors that are out there today?
Sure. I think much like I referenced earlier with this pressure between having low overhead and having advanced technology, we're always trying to be the most efficient and effective as we possibly can. So we're looking to make sure that what are those operational tasks that we can automate and have shared services with our partners, UC and UC Health, to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts? What are we also doing? For example, we're in the process right now of migrating our Office 365 tenants so that we can manage our identities separately from the university. And that might sound like an additional task. Why are you taking that on separate from the university? But when you think about the dual identities that you can have as a student, as a professor, as an employee, we needed to be able to manage those folks at scale and provide the services unique to the foundation that perhaps a student doesn't need or a faculty member doesn't need. So we are always looking for those opportunities to be as efficient as possible when it makes sense, but then also be as agile and nimble as possible when it makes sense just for the foundation. So we're really balancing those all the time.
Well, it's interesting. I just heard was, the shared services model. In certain areas, you do want to leverage that shared services model to gain efficiency for capabilities. But at the same time, what you're doing with Office 365 is to be able to create new capabilities, but take that out of the shared services model so that you can have the more flexibility. So it's interesting because you want to leverage both, right?
Absolutely. And, we want to be good, responsible stewards to our donors and make sure that we're spending their money with intention and as well and as efficiently as possible. But we also, that agility piece, right? And making sure that we can do what we need. It's a fine line that we walk every day for sure.
Yeah. I mean, do you think the time to market or the internal time to deliver some of these capabilities has been impacted in a positive or negative way through some different shared services and or technologies?
Sure. I think that as we look at where it is appropriate to have shared service and where it's not, it actually increases our speed to market in some instances, because we're able to, like I was mentioning with identity management, we're not having to go through someone that manages 45,000 employees versus someone that manages 180 employees. Right. So we're able to deploy services and tasks much more quickly, as well as manage all of our own endpoints to make sure that we're having the appropriate security and device management in place. So there's a lot of, I certainly don't want to say that the university slows us down, because they actually advance us in many, many ways by bringing their technical expertise. But it is a balance between those needs of 45,000 employees versus 180 employees, and what can we do as a small nonprofit versus a large institution.
Yeah, it reminds me of a lot of what large organizations are doing. They're I call it, say, larger like a Titanic, but they want to be nimble like a speedboat. And when they do have unique ideas and concepts, or maybe there's a unique line of business that needs to move faster, they're on an island, but they're still tethered to the Titanic so that they can get that help and support, right?
Absolutely. That's a great analogy.
Yes.